Okay. Okay. So we'd had a question from Narendra about duty, about what's this all about duties, and he had read a verse that had confused him, which is saying that it's better to do your own duty imperfectly rather than someone else's duty perfectly. So he wasn't sure about that one. So we broke away from our systematic study to look at that, and it's very interesting. And we certainly didn't complete the topic last week. So, and it's very important. So we'd like to talk more about that if everyone's okay with that. I want to hear some more about duties. So we discussed last week about what does it mean, duty? Even the word itself, duty. What does it mean? So we discussed about
Narendra.
Someone else's. Oh, Narendra's coming.
Yes, Narendra.
So we discussed what is duty. That it's indicating that we have a superior authority and is giving us particular instructions or directions to follow. So those are our duties there, as it's often mentioned, prescribed duties. So like I mentioned, like you have a doctor gives you a prescription. So it is some instructions prescribed by the doctor for the patient. So, hi Narendra, how are you? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome.
Hare Krishna.
So, Narendra, we decided we want to continue talking on this topic that you brought up about duty. I hope you're okay with that. I can't hear you. Your voice. We can't hear your voice.
Mute.
Unmute.
Unmute your mic.
Not yet. Can't hear anything yet.
Your mic is mute, Narendra?
Not necessarily.
Yes.
I can't see the mute symbol.
Yeah, now I can see. You're mute again.
Can't hear you.
Because oh yeah, now better.
We can see you. We can see you, but I can't hear you anyway.
There you are.
Yeah, we can see you. We can't hear you.
Say something, Narendra.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Got you.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Good. So, of course, that's not something that a lot of people in modern day godless world society will want to hear, that we have this a personality out there in the universe that's the authority for everyone, and he's prescribing to us or dictating to us different things that we should do and shouldn't do. So therefore, for a lot of people in society, we don't even want to hear that we have duties. What we want to hear is that we're in control and we can do anything we damn well like, and we're not held accountable or responsible for our actions. There's no such thing as karma or reactions. If you don't do your duty, you get punished. There's no such thing as that. We don't want to hear that if you don't do your duty, you get punished, and it's sinful, and your future won't be very good in the next life. And so in modern ideas is that there's only one life. There's no next life, so there's no such thing as karma or reactions or like that. And the purpose of this life, what is it? Just to enjoy our senses as much as possible, sense gratification. And there's no one that says there's any absolute right or wrong. You just determine yourself what's good for you, what's right for you. So like that, we have different people have different morals and values and things like that. But they have this idea, most people have an idea, there's no absolute right or wrong, no absolute morals or values or whatever like that. It's something you determine. So it's sort of been thrown out the window, this sort of concept of duty. Of course, you know, we still understand, we make up our own sort of duties, I suppose. Isn't it? Like you maybe have duties to the government and, you know, to pay your taxes, and you have parents have duty to the kids to feed them and wipe their backside and send them off to school and things like that. So, I mean, we do have, I mean, people understand, yeah, we do have some duties. But more than that, we don't sort of think there's some sort of ultimate supreme being that determines, you know, what you should do and things like that. But so that's sort of about a little bit about what is duty. And then the next question, and that's something that many of you have had on your mind, or even some of you have asked me, but still you haven't told us, how do I know what my duty is? What's my duty? How do I know? I know there's different duties, but how do I know amongst all these multitude of duties, what's my duty? What should I be doing as of today on the 25th of June 2020? So what should we do? So we explained last week a bit about how your duty relates to what your nature is. So what does that mean, what your nature is? We know that in Vedic culture that this whole material world and everyone in it is controlled by three modes of material nature: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. So that controls everything and everyone. So our body, this body is made up of the modes of material nature: the mind, the intelligence, the false ego. Everything is made up of the modes, controlled by the modes, everything. What we eat, if you eat vegetarian food, it's in the mode of goodness. That's what mode that's in. If you eat onions and garlic and too much chili, that's in the mode of passion. If you eat decaying things like meat and that's in the mode of ignorance. If you yell and swear in that's speaking in the mode of ignorance. If you talking all about how to make more and more money and getting all excited about these things and getting results, talking about that, and that's in the mode of passion. And then mode of goodness is you're speaking according to the scriptures, that the words are truthful, the words are beneficial, and that they're pleasing to hear, and things like that. So there's different symptoms that indicate different modes. So you can understand by the symptoms what mode that you're in, whether you're in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. You can understand that by different symptoms. So we brought up, some of you that were here last week, you may have written down those verses, and some of you may have looked it up. That was in the 18th chapter. Krishna talks about the different duties according to different natures of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. So that was in the 18th chapter we mentioned, from text 41 to 44. 41 to 44. So it talks about the duties of a Brahmana, and then what the symptoms of the Brahmana are, and of the Kshatriya, what the symptoms of a Kshatriya are, the Vaishya, what the qualities are in a Sudra, like that. And that's all according to the different modes. So the Brahmana is in the mode of goodness, the Kshatriya is in the mode of passion, the Vaishya is in the mode of passion and ignorance combined, both two different modes, qualities they have, influenced by, and then Sudras predominantly in the mode of ignorance. So the person's influence, of course, originally we're all pure spirit souls. We're beyond the modes of material nature. Originally, there's only one mode in the spiritual world, and that you love God, you love Krishna, and everything you do is just to please him. That's the mode, and that's called bhakti. That's the only nature in the spiritual world. Your nature is that you think about God 24 hours a day, and everything you do, your thinking, feeling, breathing, acting, everything is related to trying to please him and satisfy him, and you never worry about yourself and everything like that. So that's the only mode in the spiritual world. But having left that and come to the material world, then we're under the influence of these different modes. So we have different kind of conditionings. So therefore, we're called a conditioned soul. Many times you'll read that in Prabhupada's books. It mentions conditioned soul. So these are the different conditions we're subjected to. These conditions of the different modes of material nature. And of course, under the control of these different modes, we're subjected to conditions like birth and old age and disease and death. And we're subjected to heat and cold and honor and dishonor and health and sickness and so many conditions. So there's so many conditions that we become influenced by under these different modes. But the idea is that we to get out of this control of the modes, we have to understand our situation within the modes and then follow the directions of the instructions from the Lord, which are meant for the purpose of helping us to get liberated, to help us to get free from the control of the modes. Because obviously the person ultimately in control of these different modes or conditionings is the Lord himself. It's all created by the Lord. So the best way to get out of the influence of these modes is by following the instructions of the person that created them, and that's God. So, getting back to how do we know what our duty is? So our duty is like, that's our occupation. Actually, this verse that Narendra brought up comes in the 3rd chapter, text 35, and the 18th chapter, text 47. And as I mentioned last week, the first 2 lines are both the same. And there's a slight difference in the second 2 lines, but it means pretty much the same thing, and I explained that. So in the first one, the word duty is there. In Sanskrit, it's called dharma, which is a very important word, dharma, and you'll comes up many places. D-H-A-R-M-A, dharma. So it said, and then it said here, one's prescribed duties. Swa. Swa means one's own, swa, and dharma means duty. But interestingly, in this verse that has the same Sanskrit, in the 18th chapter, text 47, Prabhupada doesn't translate it as duty. His swa, which means own, but he's got swadharma, one's own occupation. So in one place, Prabhupada's translating dharma as duty. Another place he's translating as occupation. So that's the same thing, that your duty is your occupation is your duty. So what is your occupation? Occupation means your job, right? That's your work. Your job is your occupation. So how do you connect up your occupation is also as your duty? Because the Lord is instructing you to do a particular kind of occupation. That's your duty. Your duty is your work. You should see that I am doing this work as following my obligation, the instruction in obedience to the Lord. Duty means you're doing some activity out of obedience to some higher authority, right? So you should see that I'm working as a naturopath, as Gail, as my duty to the Lord. The Lord has given me this particular job, this particular occupation to do, and I'm doing it for his pleasure. Or I'm working as in hospitality, like Gulshan, or Narendra. What job do you do?
Oh, I'm in IT.
IT. So I'm doing the IT as my duty to follow the Lord's instructions. He's given me this duty to do. I'm doing it for his satisfaction, like that. So we can go around whoever, and often in modern day society, some people might not have found a particular occupation as yet. Actually, it said before this COVID-19 in New Zealand, there was 5% people were unemployed, 4 or 5%, and now apparently it's 10%. So some people don't have any occupation. Or even say the other 90% that have an occupation, but they might not like their occupation, many of those people. Actually, Prabhupada very interestingly said, because see, to work out your duty, the work that you should do, you have to work out what's your nature, right? But can you see the problem that we have in modern day society? We have a hard time working out what our duty, our occupation is, because we don't have a clue what our nature is. So you don't just look at, well, what occupation I should do, but you've got to go back a step and get an understanding about what my nature is. As soon as you know what your nature is, immediately you'll know what to do. But because we're still unclear about who we are, we don't forget about who we are spiritually. We have no idea who we are, but even materially speaking, even we don't understand our material nature. Forget about our spiritual nature, that's even more higher knowledge. But even we don't even have the knowledge of our psychophysical nature.
That's why 4 people out of the 5, they're in the wrong job.
Yeah, often it's like that, because Prabhupada he gave a very simple definition of understanding what our nature is. He said, and the work that we should do. He said, generally, your nature is what you like to do and what you're good at doing. That's your nature, and that's the work that you should do. What you like to do and what you're good at. See, sometimes you might like to do something. Like I like playing the drum, the mridanga, right? I like doing it, but I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. So is that what I should do as a job? No.
Really?
No, unless I want to, make you run away from the kirtan. No, it's not. But I like to do it, but I'm not good at it. Sometimes you're good at something, but you don't like it. But that's not it either. See, I was very good at land surveying. Oh, I mentioned last week, I was very good at land surveying, but I didn't like it. I produced good results. My boss was happy, but I wasn't happy because I didn't like doing it. Why didn't I like doing it? Because I'd found out something before that I was doing that I really enjoyed, and I was missing it like anything. And that was what I'm doing right now, talking about Krishna, is talking about God. That's what I really like to do. That's what I really like to do. And that's one of the duties of a Brahmana. That's one of the duties of a Brahmana. So for me to do the land surveying, which is like the work of a Sudra, I'm just working for someone else. That was not going well for me, because it wasn't really my nature. Because I
Outside. Sorry.
through training from the spiritual master, we had developed the qualities of a Brahmana, and that was going very well. So, and I'm not saying necessarily what I like to do and good at doing is going to be what you like to do and good at doing, and it's all going to be different, and that's the way it should be, and that's God's arrangement, that we all have different natures. Imagine if 6 billion people on the planet and they're all teachers.
Oh, who's going to be the student?
That's right. There's not going to be any students. There's no who's going to cook for the teachers. Who's going to build a house for the teachers? Who's going to organize the water and electricity and gas and everything for the teachers? You know, so who's going to make the clothes for the teachers? You know, like that. So, and the glasses and everything like that. So people have different occupations, and they should all be working together cooperatively. And it's explained in the Vedas as, imagine that there's you could say a social body, right? And the brahmanas are compared to the head of the social body. They're the head, because your head is what gives you direction, right? So just like the brahmanas are intelligent, they give direction to society. And the kshatriyas are compared to what part of they're the arms. Just like the arms they protect the body, defend the body. So the kshatriyas, they protect society. And the vaishyas are compared to, they're compared to the stomach. They're the producers. They're feeding the social body. And the sudras are compared to the legs. Just the legs get the work done, isn't it? You can get somewhere. You can go and do something with the help of the legs. You can make progress with the help of the legs. So the sudras, they get the work done. They do a lot of the work. So, and they're all necessary. I love my head, but I hate my legs. Does anyone think like that about their body? No.
Oh.
If there's some problem in my head, I'll be very concerned to fix it. And if there's a problem in my leg, I'll be very concerned to fix it. So you have equal respect for all different parts of your body. They're all important. You can't, I mean, the head is definitely very important, but that doesn't mean that the stomach or the arms or whatever are not important. They're also important, and they're all meant to work together. The head is working together with the arms and the legs and the stomach, and the legs are working together with the arms and the head and so forth. So it's all should be cooperating together. If the arm says, I'm not going to put food in the mouth anymore, then that's a very unwholesome condition to be in, where one part of the body doesn't want to cooperate with the other part of the body, and then both the whole body's going to suffer, because the hand doesn't put food in the mouth anymore. And also, what's going to happen to the hand? Without the food going in the body, the hand is going to be stuffed. This is completely no use. So that's what we have in modern day society, is a dysfunctional social body. We don't even know whether we're a hand or an arm or a leg or whatever we are, and then we don't know what to do and don't know where to put it, and we don't want to cooperate. No, I'm just going to be all independent, and I'm not going to try to please anyone else or anything like that. So we shot ourselves in the foot. So that is part of the difficulty. So Swami Prabhupada, on behalf of the Lord and the whole Vedic culture, is trying to help us out there, understanding who we are and seeing the big picture, what we're part of, and helping us to learn how to cooperate together. And if we can do that, then what will be the benefit? What will be the benefit if we understand who we are and what our part to play in the big picture is? There will be peace and prosperity. Put up your hands if you want those things.
Yes,
I definitely want those things, isn't it? Does anyone not want to be peaceful, and anyone not want to be prosperous? Like that. So that's the whole idea, and altogether this is called the Van Ashram system. Van Ashram Dharma. Once again, the word Dharma has come up. Sometimes people would ask Prabhupada, what's your religion? And he didn't say Christian, Hindu, or Muslim or anything like that, or he didn't say Buddhist. He said, we are followers of Van Ashram Dharma. That's our religion. Van Ashram Dharma. So this is the system created by God. This is God's system made up of different duties according to your nature. So there's 4 divisions, and there's 4 social divisions. And that's, as we've mentioned, the Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahma. That's the social divisions. Those are different divisions according to your work. And the different work that the work that you do is helping you maintain your body, isn't it? Can anyone stay alive without work? Has anyone seen just You lie down on the roadside and food just falls into your mouth, and someone builds a house over the top of your body. No, it doesn't sort of automatically happen like that. As Prabhupada mentions the saying that even though the lion is the king of the jungle, still has to work.
He has to hunt, yeah.
He works to. Have you ever seen a lion trying to get food? It works damn hard. It's like it runs so fast, and it can't run very far because it's going to run out of energy. It runs very fast, but only for a short distance. Only because it's going to run out of energy. If it takes more than a couple of 100 meters to reach that antelope or whatever, it's going to run out of gas. So he's expending a lot of energy. It's a lot of hard work to get his food, even though he's the king. So that's one of the conditions of the material world. Everybody has to work. See, that's a modern misconception about spirituality. Oh, I want to be spiritual. And when you're spiritual, that means you give up your work. No, that's not what Krishna's saying. What did Arjuna say in the Bhagavad Gita? I want to give up my work. This work is very horrible work, being a Kshatriya, having to fight and kill and everything. That sucks, this work. I'm going to give up my work and just go to the forest and be like a monk. So he had this idea, which we often have in our minds in modern day society, that we've had some difficulties in our occupations or whatever, so we just give up all that and do nothing and call that spirituality. But no, that's not according to Krishna, who's the source of spirituality. He's the supreme spiritual person, and we're all part of him. That he's saying that we should do our work, even if sometimes you don't get a good result. But we should continue our work, because as he points out to Arjuna, how are you going to maintain your body, my dear Arjuna, if you don't work? So, but apart from that, as we were saying, that if we do become a spiritually minded person, you're not working just to maintain your body. I mean, definitely you are going to work to maintain your body, but it's not just for that. Your work is how you show your devotion, your bhakti to the Lord. If you love someone, you want to do, what do you want to do? How are you going to develop that relationship? If you love someone, how are you going to develop the relationship? Just by saying, I love you, I love you?
Do something.
You do something. I mean, some activity. You do some activity. You do some work for them. Like say the husband goes, for example, goes and works his backside off 40, 50 hours in the office or factory. It's a horrible job, whatever like that. But why is he doing that? Because he loves his family and he's bringing home the results of that work in terms of money or whatever, gives groceries and so many things. He gives that to his wife and kids. And then hopefully the wife will go, wow, he loves me. He's doing all this for sacrifice, all of his time and energy for me. And the kids thinking, wow, daddy's done all this to help me get my education and go to university and, become a successful person. He's making all that sacrifice for me and everything like that. Of course, in Kali Yuga, most people are stupid. They never even appreciate all the hard sacrifice other people are doing for them. But actually, that's the fact, Or it might be the wife going out to work and she's bringing it home for the family, whatever. But working and we offer it to the person that we love. So, in bhakti, we do the work, and who do we offer it to? We offer it to the Lord. And the Lord goes, wow, you did that for me. You worked in the factory or the office for me. You even though it's difficult or whatever, just to try to please me, you've done that. And then that's how and then Krishna goes, here, take some bliss, take some mercy. I'll give you this knowledge in your heart to enlighten you, to take away the ignorance. I'll take away all the passion and ignorance in your consciousness and like that. So he's going to reciprocate with us. But how we start to develop the relationship on our side, we have to do activities anyway to maintain ourselves. So we do those activities, but we do it in a consciousness of the Lord, for the pleasure of the Lord. So it's nothing too difficult to comprehend, because we're already doing it anyway. The only difference is the central point is Krishna. Instead of the central point is, I'm doing my duty for my family, and that's it. I'm doing my duty for my country because I'm an Aussie, I'm an Indian, I'm a Kiwi. I'm doing it for my country. This nationalism, all these isms, right? What's all the isms? You can tell me? Nationalism, socialism, philanthropism, altruism, all these isms. You're doing it for some particular cause, right? But here we're just putting Krishna in the middle, so it's like Krishnaism. So we're doing it for Krishna. Of course, if we do it for Krishna, it's not that the family misses out or the country misses out or anything, because Krishna is, as it says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he's the source of everything. Everything comes from him. So if you do give your offering to him, that offering gets distributed everywhere. Like mentioned, if you put food in the mouth, that food where is that gonna go? Is it just gonna benefit the mouth?
It's going to benefit
No,
the whole
first the
life.
stomach will benefit, and then from the stomach it's going to go to your ear and to your hair if you have any, to your eye, your nose, your neck, your chest, your legs, your little toe, your big toe. It's going to go everywhere. So that's like giving to Krishna. That benefit is going to go everywhere. So it's not that, oh, you Hare Krishnas, you just love God, you don't love anyone else. No, we love everyone. But we know how to effectively love everyone by loving the central point, Krishna. And he distributes that love everywhere. Can you distribute love everywhere to everyone? Can you make all the animals on the world happy in the universe? All the plants, all the aquatics,
I can't even make myself happy.
birds. You can't even make yourself happy.
Don't worry about the world.
Very honest man over there. Very honest man there. Can't even make, let alone make the wife
At
happy.
least that makes someone happy. Somebody's laughing.
I know from trying to be a manager for some time there in Australia, it's very hard to keep everyone happy. Actually, Prabhupada said that's the duty of a manager. The duty of the manager is to keep all the citizens happy. The king, the leader he is to keep everyone happy. And that's a hard job. But the best way to do that, most effective way, is by dedicating all one's activities to please Krishna. And if Krishna becomes pleased, then just without him even needing to click his fingers, just by his will, he can just turn everything around, make it better. So Prabhupada said 40 years ago, he said, and that was only after a few years of spreading Krishna consciousness, he said if it hadn't been for the appearance of the Krishna consciousness movement and the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement, there would have already been World War III. There would have already been World War III. I could tell you some far out stories about that, giving some evidence of that, but I won't do it right now. But there is evidence of that there would have already been a war, and that was Prabhupada was talking that before he left in 1977. So, and these Krishna conscious activities are still going on, and definitely going 40 years later, definitely we probably would have been up to World War V by now, if it hadn't been for a little bit of a spread of Krishna consciousness. So it goes a long way if we can dedicate our activities, our duties, for the pleasure of the Lord. And we talked about a little bit about last week about there's two different kinds of duties. There's material duties, and that material duty is worked out according to your, like I said, psychophysical nature, what body you have and what mind you have. Then the duties are prescribed according to that. And then you have spiritual duties, and that is given by the spiritual master. So the spiritual master is, I'll give you some examples. Like the spiritual master says, chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. That is your duty. Duty means, what does duty mean? You have to do it, right? Oh, I don't feel like chanting today, but that's not duty. Duty means whether you feel or not feel, you have to do it. That means duty, an obligation. It's an obligation. It's something you have to do. Just like the mum and dad, right? They might not feel like feeding the kids. Oh, I'm too tired. I've been working my butt off the whole day. I don't feel like cooking for my kids. But they still do it because it's their duty. Something they have to do like that. So we accept that as our duty to our spiritual master. And he says, no more meat, fish or eggs, no more intoxication, no more illicit sex, no more gambling. So as a duty, he's giving us these instructions. So this is a very important thing to understand. One essential point about duties is that it's and instructions are given to you from an authority. So if you want to look in your own time, or you can flick it now while I'm talking, chapter 4, text 34, which I brought up this verse quite a few times in the past because it's a very important verse. And it's a verse all about the spiritual master, how one should understand the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master, inquire submissively from him, render service unto him, and they can impart knowledge unto you because you've seen the truth. So it's talking about the spiritual master, and in the purport, Prabhupada tells us the secret of success in spiritual life. Does anyone want to know what the secret of success is?
Yes, of course.
Is pleasing the spiritual master. That's the secret of success. Pleasing the spiritual master. And hang on. And the next question is, what's the next question? Okay, the secret of success is pleasing the spiritual master. What's the next question? And it should be, and if you have a logical intelligence.
How?
Well, that's it.
We do it.
All I have to do is please my spiritual master. But the next question is, how do I please my spiritual master? By baking him a cake on his birthday? No, it's explained in other places. What pleases the spiritual master is if the disciple or the follower if does his duties, which means like follow his instructions. If we follow his instructions, he or she becomes pleased with us. Now, do they benefit if I follow my guru's instructions? Does he gain anything from that? They get any benefit by me following those instructions to chant 16 rounds and follow the four regulated principles and preaching Krishna consciousness? Who gains?
You.
If the diseased person follows Gail's instructions as the doctor, does Gail benefit?
No.
It's the sick person benefits because they're going to get better. And when they get better, then Gail's going to be happy. Gail's going to be happy that they're feeling better. They're healthy again. So just like the doctor gives prescription to the sick person, and the sick person benefits by following that prescription in terms of medicine and diet and whatever instructions are. And the sick person benefits, and the doctor feels happy that the sick person is now healthy. So in the same way, the spiritual master feels very pleased to see Claire.
Hello, Bobby's
Hi,
here.
Claire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Bob.
Hello. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We started a bit early, Bob. Sorry.
That's all right, mate. I've been at the dentist. I've just got back.
Show me the teeth.
Oh, no, I've got some missing. Thank you.
So
What page are we on?
actually,
No,
we're not
just
talking.
instruction from our spiritual master Abhay Charan Das.
Okay.
So what we're doing, we had an interesting question last week, Bob,
Yeah.
about duties, the subject of duties, and how do we know what our duties are. So we've broken off from our systematic study and just discussing last week and this week about everything to do about duties.
Righto.
So that's what we're up to. And
I'm going to disappear for 1 minute while I get a pen. I won't be
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
So our duties means following the directions, instructions from our superior, our authority, whether it's God or his representative, the spiritual master, or so forth. And following those duties are for our benefit. And when we follow those instructions and get the benefit, then the authority is pleased. They're happy. And we get their blessings. And actually, the blessings begin with the instructions. One time a person said to Prabhupada, please give me your mercy. Swamiji, give me your mercy. In India, they have this is a sign of giving blessings. They put their palm out. Sometimes you'll see even some deities in a temple, and not this way, but this way. So that's actually a sign of giving blessings. So the man said, Swamiji, give me your blessings. It's understood in Indian culture that the saintly people, the spiritually realized people, the transcendentalists, that they have some spiritual power and they can give blessings to people. But the common people, they're a bit ignorant and they think the blessings come in the form of some like electric shock or something, or some dust floating or whatever like that, some magic tricks or whatever. So what did Prabhupada reply to that? Give me your blessings. He said, my blessings are that I'm giving you instructions. You know, and then what happens? Then Prabhupada tells the guy, chant Hare Krishna. No, Swamiji, that's not what I want. I want your blessings. Means, what does he want? He wants to have a happy family life. He wants to have lots of money. He wants to be successful business. That's what he's thinking blessings are. But is that the blessings that the guru, the spiritual master, is wanting to give?
Yeah.
Basically, to have a better kind of sense gratification. The blessings of the spiritual master is that you can give up sense gratification.
Yeah.
And you can get free from the body. No more body. That's the blessing. No more body. That when this body dies, you won't get another body. And you can go back to the spiritual world, and you can live with Krishna forever, and have sense gratification with Krishna. But that we're so ignorant. See, we're in the modes of nature, right? We're in so much ignorance and passion. We're so attached to sense gratification in this body, on this planet, in this universe. We don't want to have sense gratification with Krishna, because we've forgotten Krishna. We don't even know anything about that. All we know about is this tiny little place we're in now, and then we want to try to get some enjoyment out of this. But the blessings coming from the spiritual master is to disentangle us, detach us from this material world, this material body, and to connect us with Krishna, an eternal loving relationship with Krishna. But that's often what people don't want. That they don't want that.
Yes.
They don't want to love God. You say, "Oh, my blessing is that I'll teach you how to love God." I don't want to love God. What do I want to love God for? I want to love my girlfriend. I want to love my pets, and I love money like that. So, but that's actually what the blessings are, And if one wants those blessings, one can get it from the spiritual master, but one has to, in order to get those blessings from the spiritual master, then one should seriously follow the instructions. It means take that as our prime duty. That's our prime duty in life, is to follow the directions of the spiritual master. Actually, you know, even materially speaking, Prabhupada was the most successful person. I mean, can you imagine 70 years plus? And he's created a worldwide movement. You know, even if you look at it in terms of mundane way, from properties and that, Prabhupada was such a rich person. He had over 100 opulent temples around the world. And he had so many followers that were working for him day and night without charging him. Can you imagine? They were working for him and he didn't have to pay them, but they paid him. Just think about that. They were working for him, and whatever money they got, they gave it to him. Can you imagine any other organization you know that operates like that? Normally, if you have people working for you, you have to pay them, right? If you don't pay them, what will happen?
They won't work.
They won't work. But without any payment, they were working day and night. And they were so happy. People glorified Prabhupada. You spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. You opened over 100 temples. You wrote and printed more than 70 books from Sanskrit to English. You made, 10,000 devotees of Krishna all over the world out of the most rotten people on the planet. The Western, in Indian language, you call it Malechas and Yavanas, which basically means unclean meat eaters, which is incredible feat to turn an unclean meat eater into a pure Brahmana, pure, clean, vegetarian, devotee of Krishna, completely turn their life upside down. It's a miracle. So people would glorify, praise Prabhupada like anything. You know what Prabhupada said after all that praise and glorification? I don't accept credit for any of that. I don't accept credit for any of that. If you want to give me credit, I'll take credit only for one thing. Do you know what the one credit Prabhupada took?
Following his guru's orders.
I didn't deviate 1 inch from the order of my Guru Maharaj. I didn't deviate 1 inch from the instructions, the order of my Guru Maharaj. If you want to give me credit, that's my only credit. Everything else has been done by them. Means his authorities, mercy, coming down from Krishna, coming down through Lord, from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva to Shukadeva. This is called the Parampara, the succession. So much mercy is coming down. All you have to do to get that mercy is you have to do your duty. You have to do, what is the duty? Is to follow the instructions from the authority. That's the meaning of the word duty, to follow the instructions of our authorities. So what's the prescribed means what's instructions are given by them. So they're giving us prescribed duty, means the instructions, the orders given by our authority, and we that's something that we're obliged to do. Because why should we follow the instructions? Because that's the nature of the soul, is that we are the servant. Let's go back to the word dharma, which in one way of translating dharma is duty. Another way, remember I told you, what's the other definition of Krishna? Prabhupada had also translated it. That dharma means duty, and dharma also means? Occupation. Yes, occupation. So dharma. Prabhupada sometimes people translate dharma as religion. It means that in terms of a kind of faith. Prabhupada didn't
David, washing hands, safe distancing. You know how it goes.
You look better today. Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried about you yesterday. Catch up after you do your bits and bobs.
So Prabhupada didn't accept that definition of dharma as religion in terms of a kind of faith. He said dharma means a natural characteristic that you cannot separate from the object. So, and then he gave examples. Okay, you think about that, right? The natural characteristic you can't separate from the object. Every object has particular characteristics that you can't take away from it. Okay, so thinking about that, what's the dharma of a chili? Richie. Chili.
I had some in my eye the other day.
You had some in your eye. How did it feel?
Not very good.
Not very good. So that's the characteristic of a chili. It's burning.
Burnt.
That's the dharma. The dharma of chili is burning. It's hot.
I don't usually eat chili.
Heat, burning, hot. What's the dharma of sugar?
Sweet.
Sweet. If the sugar was hot, it can't be, can it?
No.
Can chili be sweet? It can't be. You can't separate it. You can't separate heat from a chili. You can't separate sweetness from sugar. And salt, it has to be salty. It can't be sweet, is it? If salt was sweet, that's incompatible. You can't make salt sweet. You can't make sugar salty. They're two different objects and they have different characteristics. So then he said, what's the dharma of the soul? This is so important to understand. This is the foundation of our spiritual understanding. What is the dharma of the soul? If you look into your life, what have you been doing your whole life at all times? Don't just see the external form of it, but see what's underlying it.
Love? No.
You're serving. You're serving. When you go to eat something, you're serving your tongue, aren't you? Oh, I'm hungry. I'm serving my belly. Oh, my tongue wants to taste that salty taste. I want to go down. I'll go down to the fish and chip shop because they eat something nice and salty chips. So you're serving your tongue, or you're serving your belly when the hunger is there. You have to serving the hunger pains, or you're serving your taste buds, or you're serving someone else's senses, isn't it? By feeding someone else, your family members. You're serving your family, or you're either serving your own body, or if you're feeling sleepy, what happens? You have to just serve the body by finding a place to lie down and have a rest. Or you're serving your country and you have to pay taxes. What do you just think, oh, I have to pay taxes, but you don't see what's underlying that. What's underlying you're paying taxes is that you're a servant of the government, that you're going out to work. You just think I'm going out to work, but you don't think I'm a servant of my boss. Well, what, you're working so hard for your family. You're not thinking I'm a servant of my wife. I'm a servant of my children. Or you're looking after your body. You're not thinking I'm a slave of my body. 24/7, I'm a servant of my body. Or a slave of someone else's body. I'm a servant of the society, a servant of the nation, a servant, like that. So that's our dharma, is service. And of course, we through doing that service, we derive some pleasure. We would hope to anyway. Sometimes we get pain, but our goal is not to get pain, of course. Our goal is is that by doing all this service, we'll get some pleasure. But what's the problem with, and this pleasure is what we call sense gratification. But what's the problem? What's the fundamental problem with this, with exhibiting our dharma of service in the material world?
Probably expecting something in return.
Yeah, we expect something in return. And what we're getting in return, how long does that last for? Not very long. So this is one of the fundamental problems built in with exhibiting our dharma of service in the material world. The results, the benefits we're getting don't last very long. And that in Sanskrit is called chapala sukha. Chapala means flickering. You know what flickering is? That was flickering. Flickering. Doesn't last very long, does it? Like last night here in New Zealand, there was some lightning in the sky. And it's, although it's dark at night, but there was, like when I was up early this morning chanting, and it was still dark when I was up chanting, and suddenly the whole room would be lit up with light. But how long did it last for? Just very short. So that's the material happiness is like that. It just comes and goes. It's just such a brief moment of happiness. And then on both sides of that happiness, what is there? Before and after the happiness.
Miseries.
Yeah, unfortunate. Don't like to say it, but that's a fact. That there's misery on both sides of it. So actually it's explained that Prabhupada said there's no happiness in the material world. Of course, we rebel at hearing that. How dare you say that? Of course there's happiness in the material world. But what his definition of material happiness is, an absence of suffering, a momentary absence of suffering. That's what we call happiness. But is that anything really positive? For one moment, you're not suffering. What do we call that? Happiness. But what kind of happiness is that? That's not good enough for the soul. Actually, the soul's looking for an ocean of bliss. Anandam buddhivadanam pradipadam purnamridasvadanam savatmasnapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So we're looking for an ever-increasing ocean of bliss. That's the soul. We're hankering for that, but we're only getting a few drops. We're only getting a few drops in the material world. You know, like the thirsty person in the desert, right? You're looking out for water. What water you get in the desert? Bugger all. You know, if you're lucky, a few drops. And if imagine you're really thirsty and someone just puts one drop of water on your tongue, how's that going to make you feel? Is that going to make you feel better or worse? It's going to make you feel worse. It's better you didn't get a drop. Because what does that do? When you're looking for a lot of something, you only get a little bit. See, what that does, like with happiness, you get a little bit of happiness. That puts a hope in your heart. Maybe, just maybe I can be happy in this world. There's a slight possibility that it's out there, that I can be happy. And that hope is what ruins us. Because then you go chasing after it. And if you go chasing after water in a desert, what's going to happen to you? You're dead, man. You're going to be very dead very soon. Isn't it? If you go running after, that's called a mirage, right?
Yep.
You go running after water in the desert, what's going to happen? Sooner or later, you're going to run out of gas and you're going to fall head first in the sand, and that's it. You know, so don't do that. You know, and that's called Maya. Maya creates this illusion, this mirage that we can be happy in the material world. So she dangles it in front of us. So I have a drop of happiness over here. And we go running after it. I got it. And then it lasts a moment and like that. And then we cry. But we think it's there, you know. So that's the Maya. So we've got to be very careful for that. So in Krishna consciousness, we learn.
Excuse me.
Huh?
Oh, sorry, Abhay, I'm trying to write some things down. How did you word? You said happiness is a momentary, what do you call a rest or break from the material,
suffering.
From suffering.
It's the gap between suffering on both sides.
Okay.
So Prabhupada gives an example of that, actually. There was a medieval torture. There was a medieval torture where they have a plank suspended over water. So one half of the plank is on the land, and you got the soldiers on the land side of the plank, and they tie the poor person onto the plank over the water side. And then what do? They lift their side up, and then what happens? Blah! Then the poor guy that they're torturing goes under the water. And do you know what they do?
Go and have a break.
They know roughly how long he can breathe for, hold a breath. So they calculate how long he can have a breath for. Say maybe it's a bit more than a minute. And just before he's dead, they lift the plank out of the water. And then what does he do? The poor guy, what does he do? Oh, wow, that's so good. And then what do they do? Again. So Prabhupada said that's material happiness. Wow. Kaboosh. And then plunged again. But that's the fact, isn't it? That's the fact. That's the fact. That's what we call happiness. But that's not positive. That's an absence of misery, and we call that happiness. But see, the standard of happiness, in order to satisfy the soul, has to go further than that. Not just the negation of misery. The soul's only satisfied by a positive spiritual bliss. And that's only that positive spiritual bliss. You can only get that when you have a direct relationship with the supreme reservoir of bliss, the supreme reservoir of pleasure. Actually, one of the Lord's names is called Rama. You heard that name before, right? Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, what does Rama mean? We should all know what we're chanting. Rama means the reservoir of bliss, the unlimited reservoir of bliss, of pleasure. That's Rama. So when you chant Rama, you're actually connecting with the Lord, who is the ultimate source of bliss and pleasure. So this is the real solution, and that's our it's called. Now we're going to bring in another word. We've used the word Varnashram Dharma. So that's the duties of, we have the 4 social divisions and 4 spiritual orders. So you have your Sudra, the duties of the Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmin. That's called Varna. They're the Varnas. They're the social divisions. And then you have the 4 spiritual orders. That's the Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasis. That's, which we translate that to be the students, the householders, the retired people, and the renounced people. So that together, you have 8 divisions, and they each have their own duties. So that's called Varnashram Dharma. So that's a system set up by the Lord, like I said, for us to be peaceful and prosperous and ultimately go back to the spiritual world. But there's another name for that, and that's of us when we connect with the Lord, and that's called Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma. Sanatana. Sanatan means eternal. Dharma means occupation or occupational duty. So put that together, Sanatan Dharma. What's our eternal occupation, our eternal duty?
Serve Krishna.
To serve Krishna. Our nature is to serve. But in the material, it's all temporary service. I serve my butt off for that woman, and even if she does appreciate it, then, but it's all temporary. You know, it's not going to necessarily help me, you know, after that. You know, so whatever, I serve my butt off for the government, you know, and how long I get benefit for doing that. And they don't give a stuff about me, all the taxes I'm paying and like that. So it's just some temporary benefit. But Sanatan Dharma, that's eternal occupation and eternal benefit. It's eternal. And the nature of the soul is we are Sanatan. We are called Sanatan Jiva. Jiva means the soul, the spirit soul. That's called Jiva. And this Jiva, what's the nature? What's the nature of the Jiva, the soul, is that we are Sanatan. So we are a Sanatan, eternal soul, and we have an eternal Sanatan occupation. And what's that? Serving the supreme eternal soul. Who is? Bhagavan. Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. As it's saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, that the beautiful Supreme Lord said. So that's our Sanatan Dharma. We are Sanatan, eternal soul, and our Dharma, our occupation, is to have a loving relationship, eternal loving relationship that fully satisfies the Lord and fully satisfies us. So it's a two-way, of course. Relationship means two-way. That we love the Lord, we serve the Lord, and the Lord loves us, and He serves us. Don't just think that we have to serve the Lord, and He's not doing anything. No, He's doing more than us. Actually said, if you make one step towards God, then He makes
1,000 steps.
10 steps or 100 steps or 1,000 steps, but basically more. He makes more steps towards us than what we're making towards Him. And believe you me, and if you don't believe me, look at the 8th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. The Lord's steps are huge. How big's our step? Try to stretch out now. Maybe 1.5 meters at the absolute most if I really stretch. But in his incarnation as Vamanadev, Gail, you remember Vamanadev?
Yeah, 3 steps to the universe.
Yeah, on the Lord's 3rd step, he took 1, 2, 3 steps. The 3rd step, he pierced through all the 7 coverings of the universe and poked his toe through the other side, through the outside, which is the Karana ocean, the causal spiritual ocean, where one gigantic Vishnu, Karanadakashaya Vishnu, lies there. So he poked his toe right through the universe in 3 steps. So, my God, his steps are big. So yeah, if you make a little step towards Him, He makes big steps towards you. So he loves us more than we love Him. Just as we can compare that to in our experience, that generally the mother and father love the kids more than the kids love the mother and father. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Kids normally, isn't it? We don't really love our parents that much. Not in comparison to the way the parents love the kids generally. I mean, there are exceptions. Because we've gone so far away from our dharma, our duties, we even parents don't often do their duties properly anymore. But previously, I'm speaking from a situation where people do their duties. They do their prescribed duties. Then when they do it, then yeah, the parents, they love the kids more than the kids love the parents. The kids, we had this saying, right? Spoiled brat. You know what spoiled brat is, right? You're just taking and taking and taking and taking, and you never think about giving anything back, is it? I mean, if you're looking at service in terms of service, is the parent serving more the child, or the child is serving more the parent? Remember, dharma means service, right? For a soul. So
Yeah.
who's serving who?
Certainly the parents.
Yeah, certainly, no question about it. Mum and dad, they're feeding the kid, they're clothing the kid, giving him a bath, they're giving him education, you know, dealing with his tantrums and trying to train him up how to be a decent human being and all these kind of things, and sleepless nights, and it's just serving, serving, serving. And what service the kid is doing? Very little. Maybe if the parents are lucky, he might write them a birthday card once a year or something for Christmas or something, or, you know, not very much, you know. So that reminds me, just like in the different relationships the soul can have with God, generally there's not a relationship where you're the child of God, but there is a relationship where God is your child. Interesting, huh? Of course, in most religions, that concept is there, that you're the son of God, right? But in Vedic culture, you don't have that relationship, that you're the son of God. You have the relationship, you're the father of God. You're the mother of God. Why is that? Why do you want to have a relationship that you're the mother or father of God, not that you're the son of God or the daughter of God? Remember, bring it back to who's serving who.
Because they're serving them.
See, our nature is to serve. You don't want to be the son of God because he's serving you. But I want to serve him. So if you want to serve the Lord, you have to take the position of the father of God, the mother of God. Or we have this 5 relationships. There's neutrality. That means you haven't quite started serving God yet. You're sitting on the fence. You're starting to build up appreciation of just how great God is. There's some realization you're getting about how great God is. And when you've got full realization how great God is, then what's the next step?
Unconditional service.
Then you'll surrender and you'll start serving him. Why don't we serve God? Because we haven't realized just how great God is. When the penny drops and we understand just how great Krishna is, definitely we'll surrender. Definitely we'll serve him. The only reason why we're not serving him, because the penny hasn't dropped yet. Krishna's not important in my life. I don't need Krishna. Yeah, we're so ignorant. If we could comprehend just how important Krishna is to us and how great he is, even in an expansion of Krishna, named Mahavishnu, you know how great he is? The universes come out of the pores of his skin. Can you imagine that? That's how great God is, giving you some indication how great God is. That's not even Krishna. That's an expansion of Krishna, and the universes are coming out of the pores in his skin. When he breathes out, when Vishnu breathes out, the universes come out. When Vishnu breathes in, when Vishnu breathes in, the universe goes back inside him. So the duration of the universe, which is 100 years of Brahma, right? Which is our years, 311 trillion of our human years, plus so many billions and millions. 311 trillion plus more of our years is one breath of Vishnu. That's great. So just you can't even imagine how great Krishna is. How great Krishna is. So like that, when we get some realization, some knowledge about how great Krishna is, then we'll go from sitting on the fence and just appreciating to starting to serve. And that's called Dasya Ras. We start to serve the Lord. And then servant. And then there's Sakya Ras. That means friendship. Like Arjuna is serving the Lord as a friend. And then you have Vatsalya Ras. Then you're serving him as a parent, like Nanda and Yashoda, Devaki, Vasudeva. And then you go to Madhurya Ras, which is conjugal loving relationship, like Radharani, like Lalita, Vishaka, like the queens in Dwarka, like Rukmini, so forth, like that. So these are different relationships. So this is our Sanatan Dharma. Our eternal occupation, our eternal duty is to serve the Lord. Now, forgetting that, we're still serving, remember, because we can't. It's our Dharma. You can't escape that, because that's like the chili can't get away from being hot. The sugar can't get away from getting sweet. You can't stop serving because you were made to serve. All you have done is you've turned away from serving Krishna and you've turned towards serving yourself. And that's called sense gratification. Now, what's your experience of doing that, of serving yourself? Are you happy? And that's something we all have to decide. If the answer is no, then what should you do? You have to serve. So if you're not going to just serve yourself, you turn back towards serving Krishna again, and then see what's the result. See what's your experience. Of course, going from serving ourselves to serving Krishna, it may take some time, and also don't expect it's going to go straight from misery to bliss in 5 seconds flat, or 5 hours or 5 days or even 5 months or 5 years. It takes some time. Give it some time, but don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. We've been serving our own senses and other persons in the material world for so many lifetimes. We're very conditioned and very contaminated by all the reactions from those things. So it takes some time, the transition. So we're in a transition period. So it's called sadhana bhakti. We're practicing to do bhakti. But we will notice, even from the beginning, that we get these moments of great happiness and feeling great relief from suffering. Even like now, I mean, I can't say I don't suffer, but I can say that it doesn't affect me so much anymore. I don't really care about it so much anymore. And I don't think about it so much anymore, because I've transferred my activities and my thinking and everything to Krishna. So my absorption is more in Krishna. So the effect of suffering is much reduced, is very much reduced. Whereas previously the suffering was overwhelming my mind and so forth. But now it's much more tolerable. And the more I progress in Krishna consciousness, then it becomes more and more insignificant, and the happiness becomes greater and greater. So it's a gradual process, and the only way we're going to get this result is if we practice it. Once again, getting back to duty, which means occupation, means activity. You have to do something. You have to act. Just like Krishna's telling Arjuna, fight. It means you have to act. You have to do your duty. You have to do action. This idea of stopping your activities is not going to bring you any benefits. You have to continue working. You have to continue your activities, but just try to do it to please Krishna. Just try to do your activities to please Krishna. And remember, we were saying you can understand what you should be doing by doing what you like to do and what you're good at doing. That's what your nature is. And if it's still unclear, then get some guidance from the devotees, the spiritual master, someone that has broader intelligence to see what another person's conditioning is, what their nature is. That'll give us some indication. As I mentioned last week also, if you can connect up with a good astrologer, they can also connect you up with an understanding of what work would be most suitable, most fitting for you. I mean, you've got, your occupation that you're doing to make money, to survive for you and your family or whatever. and also you've got your eternal occupation, and that's not hard to work out also, because we have the same occupation to serve God. So just like I'm chanting 16 rounds, that's what the Guru has told me, but the Guru tells each of you the same thing. So spiritually, we all have the same duties to some extent, which is chanting, and we should hear about Krishna. All of us should read Bhagavad Gita. All of us should chant. All of us should offer our vegetarian food to Krishna, prasadam, and eat that. All of us should avoid eating intoxication and so forth. But there are a few other things that there may be some differences, like maybe the Guru tells one person you should manage the temple, and the Guru tells someone else you should clean the toilets, someone else you should make the garlands, someone else you should cook, like that. So that's just determined according to what the, like I said, the psychophysical nature is. You don't want to get someone to do the cooking if they're a lousy cook, and whoever eats that food is going to get food poisoning. That's not what you want to have. You want to have the person that's a good cook, and they like doing it, they put their heart into it. Actually, the consciousness of the cook is very important, because when you eat the food, you're not only eating the food, you're eating the consciousness. You're taking on the consciousness of the person that cooks. If the
Sorry
person,
to interrupt. I need
What's
to
that?
actually go. Sorry, I
have to go, yes.
actually go attend the call. Sorry about that.
No, you can't
no
go.
worries.
Yeah.
No worries.
You can't go.
Hare
Nice to
Krishna.
see you again.
You can't go.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if the person cooking, if they're really, if
They're
they
not going.
if they
It's not
they're
working.
really enjoying, if they're really enjoying cooking, and they really like cooking, and they put their heart into it, and they have a good consciousness, they're peaceful, and they're enthusiastic, and they know what they're doing, and you eat that food, you're going to feel very uplifted. You're going to feel very uplifted.
Yeah, I've got all these qualities. When I cook that, I've got to put the heart and soul and all, but the food doesn't taste very good. I don't know. I put everything what I think I need to know and everything, but it doesn't taste like it the way the Vishwambar cooks and Dev Hari cooks.
Yes, so there's two parts of the equation. So, like I said, one is that you like to do it, and the other is that you're good at it.
Yes, that's
So
right.
good at it. That indicates, that's you have that physical nature and that mental conditioning to be able to do that work.
Yes, that's right.
Like sometimes I think, about a doctor, and I think, how the hell do they do that work? I couldn't imagine cutting through someone's skin and reaching into their body and pulling out bits and sewing it together. And I just one time, actually, my wife Jayanti, she was in hospital because of something, and the doctor pulled out this big needle, and you know what happened when he put the needle in her? I think I was experiencing more pain than her, because what happened, the doctor put the needle in her arm, I started to become unconscious.
Oh,
I got a queasy stomach. And I had to grab the chair. I was going to fall over, and I just couldn't bear to see someone else in pain.
What happens if you have been admission to medicine? Doctor, we become a doctor. No chance.
I've been in accidents. I've been in accidents where I've bashed myself up, and I don't care, but I can't bear seeing someone else in pain. I just can't deal with that. So I could not do that job. I give all praise to them for being able to do that. I don't know what kind of mentality they have and everything, they can handle seeing all that, but definitely I don't have that. And even if I went to university and did a doctor thing, I don't think I could do it. I just could. Even you
I
train me
don't
to
think
do
so.
it.
You'll be successfully doctor. You'll be, halfway through, you'll be running out of the uni.
Yeah, I wouldn't even make the training. But
You can't make it
but
to the end.
you see, that's what I mean. You've got to have the
Right.
the mentality that goes with the work. Not even if you got the body to go with it, but you've got to have the mindset. Some people, like a warrior, right? Like a true warrior, they have no problem chopping people to pieces, blasting heads off, blood and guts everywhere. That's like not a problem to them. But something else, if you ask them to give a class on Bhagavad Gita,
No chance.
they'll freak out. What? You're going to put me in front of all the people and talk about God? That's just a freak out. But me, you ask me to talk in front of 10,000 people about God, no worries. I'm happy to do it. But you ask me to reach into one person's body and pull their guts out and tie it together,
No
I
chance.
can't do it. It's just, so there's nothing you can do about that. That's some particular conditioning nature that's been given to you. And that's a fixed nature. As of course, when this body dies, you might take birth in another body, and that one might have a different nature, and you might be the perfect doctor, but not in this life. So you can't change your nature, but what the idea is to purify it. You can't take me from being a teacher to a doctor. That you can't change that. But what can you do? You can purify it. Means instead of me just teaching nonsense, like I could teach you something like this, that you all come from chemicals, from matter. You all evolved from there was a big bang, and you evolved from monkeys and so forth. So I could teach you rubbish, but rather if I teach you what I've learned from Krishna and the spiritual master, and I do it for Krishna's pleasure, then I'm purifying my nature. You see? So you can't change your nature, but you can purify your nature. You're purifying it by doing it for God. You do it by whatever you're good at doing, whatever you like to do, and whatever you're good at doing, do it for God. And that way, it's not like too difficult to comprehend. You don't have to change what you're doing. I don't have to become something I'm not, like a doctor or a plumber or a builder or something. But whatever I like to do, I continue that. Like one thing I like to do, and I'm also reasonably good at it, is cooking. So I just do that for God. I do that for God. I made a spinach curry yesterday.
Oh, yes, the cooking class. You did that one day in cooking class as well.
And some chapatis, and I offered it to Krishna and distributed that to the family, and they were happy. And then seeing them happy, then I was happy. And I hope that Krishna was happy. So that's you whatever you already like to do and good at doing, then you just continue that, but you do it for God. And then that will purify that nature. Whereas if you just do it for yourself, means your sense gratification, that's going to just pull you down. Your nature is going to pull you down, 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 down. And your next life might be a worm and stool. So if you don't want to become a worm and stool or a cockroach, you can get sprayed, then we want to purify our nature. Because selfish life, you're doing your work just to please yourself, is just degrading us. But if we do our work, as like we've been talking about in this chapter we've been reading, about sacrifice, engage your nature for the pleasure of Krishna, do it as a sacrifice, and that will purify you. And you'll feel very satisfied. Like, I'm working now. I've been working ever since I was young. Even when I was at school, I did the work in orchards, picking apples and stuff like that. But so working has always been there. Some occupation is there. But ever since I started doing my occupation for the pleasure of Krishna, it's brought me so much satisfaction. So much satisfaction.
Is that the question? Is that your duty can be changed? Like whoever is a brahmachari, he's got a duty towards his parents. When he's grasta, he's got a duty towards his wife and kids.
Of course, no, that's
It's
something that,
changes.
yeah. Yeah, so like when you start off life, everyone starts off as a student, right?
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you have a choice. Are you going to continue to be by yourself, or are you going to be married?
Yes,
So that's
sir.
grihasta. And then
Yeah.
when the kids grow up, then there's another change. When the kids grow up, then you retire.
Yeah.
So that's
The duty
another change.
changes, like your duties changes.
There's so many duties, but what I was talking about, that was the duty, how you maintaining yourself.
Okay.
That one usually doesn't change very much. If you become fully Krishna conscious, then you're going to be prepared to do anything for Krishna. But until we're on that level, it's better to stick to what our nature is. Better to stick to what our nature is. I mean, like before Gulshan, right? What were you doing before you were working for Krishna? You were doing the same kind of work, hospitality, right? It's all hospitality. Now what are you doing? It's hospitality. So you haven't changed what you're doing.
The center is Krishna now.
I know.
Before the center was me.
Of course. But the type of work is still very closely related.
That's right.
It's not very often that you're going to completely do a diametric opposite.
If I rewind the clock 25 years ago, like 20 years ago, I was working the Harvey Norman or in the real estate in Sydney. So it's pretty much nature was same. Like duty was same, regardless I've got a wife and don't have a wife, but duty is the same.
I mean, in Kali Yuga, most of the occupations are within the Sudra category. It means you're working for somebody else. If you're working for somebody else, you're a Sudra. Right?
You work for Krishna?
If you have your own business, you're not working for anybody else, that's Vaishya. If you're protecting people, that's Kshatriya. Like administrators, the leaders, the administrators protecting like that, that's Kshatriya. If you're teaching, that's Brahmana. Right? So...
Hey, sorry, when
yes.
you say teaching, could that be classed as a yoga teacher teaching, or
any teaching,
any sort of education teaching? Yeah.
Even like Arjuna's martial arts guru, teacher, his name's Dronacharya. He's a Brahmana. What is he? He's teaching fighting. He's teaching fighting using weapons and all mantras for weapons and everything. But is he a Kshatriya? Well, in one sense, yeah, but actually his designation, he's a Brahmana because his main business is teaching. I mean, he can also fight. He can fight very well. He fights so well, that's why he's become a teacher of it. But his main function is teaching. Not that his main function is protecting and fighting. That also happens, but that's like a sideline. But his main mentality is for teaching. It just happens that he's teaching about military arts. So it could be teaching cooking, teaching Bhagavad Gita, or teaching how to grow potatoes. You know, but that's that mentality of teaching. Because teaching requires some intelligence to understand a subject and be able to explain it to others. Takes some intelligence. So it means an intelligent person. Teacher means intelligent person. So it takes intelligence. You have to understand a subject. You can understand it, but then can you explain it? To be able to explain it in a way that other people can understand, that takes intelligence. Like that. So the modern day Brahmanas, they're like the scientists and the philosophers and so forth, and you know, people teaching different things. But if so, for it to become clear, like what your duty is, what your nature is, and everything, you need to understand who you are. The first thing is to understand who you are. So you are an eternal soul in a material body with a material mind and material intelligence. So when you understand that what your spiritual nature is to serve, then it will become more clear to serve God. And also, while you're in a material body, you have to keep it alive. So you have to do some service in this world too. But even the service we do in this world to get our bread, to get the bread on the table, you have to do some kind of work. But even that, you do what you like to do, what you're good at doing, and you offer that to God. The result of that work, whatever it is, you do it for His pleasure. Don't just think, I'm working for my boss. You should be, even though you have a boss, but in your heart you should be thinking, I'm doing this work for Krishna. I'm doing this work. I'm not doing this work just to please my boss. I used to, but now I'm doing it to please Krishna. I'm doing it to please Krishna. And that means, some of the results of your work will go towards Krishna. You don't say it's my house anymore. It's Krishna's house. And you put Krishna in your house because it's not your house. Remember, it's Krishna's house. So Krishna goes in Krishna's house. So that's why in most devotees' houses, there'll be a little temple. So there'll be Radha Krishna or Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan in the house. And whatever they cook in the house, they'll offer it to God first, and then they'll eat it. And they'll chant, they'll sing for the pleasure of the deities, and they'll read for the deities and sing songs for the deities. Often what the person will come home with his pay packet, and what will he do with it? He'll put it on the altar. Put the pay packet, this is your money. It's not my money. We have to get out of this. So how do you get out of that? This is not my house, your house. And this is not my money, it's your money. And it's not my wife. It's your wife, Lord. It's the Lord's wife. It's the Lord's devotee. It's not my kid. It's your kid. Like that. And I'm paying for their education for your pleasure. Because I'm looking after you. I am, a custodian. We're like the custodian. So we're working hard to look after Krishna, to pay for Krishna's house. We're working hard to pay Krishna's bills. We're working hard to educate Krishna's kids. We're working hard to, look after Krishna's goddesses. Actually, the women are called Devi. Devi means goddess of fortune. So we're just changing the mentality. And if you do like that, then externally it looks the same. I mean, you're doing the same work, everything, but internally it becomes very meaningful, very fulfilling, very satisfying. Has anyone noticed that? That's applied some of those things?
Yes.
Makes a big difference. Very subtle change in consciousness. Like Prabhupada said, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So all we're changing is the consciousness. Changing the consciousness. And if you change the consciousness, it'll become revealed what you should do. It'll become revealed to you what you should do. So don't worry too much. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know, should I do this? Should I be a plumber, or should I be a musician? Or I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. The first thing you have to do to address this confusion, you have to know who you are. When you know who you are, then automatically it'll be easier to know what you should do. How can you answer the question, what should I do, if you don't know who the I is? Isn't it? What should I do? But the first thing is, before you reach the do, is look at the I. Who am I? And that's the very first thing that we learn when you step in with the Hare Krishnas, that you are not the body. You are a spirit soul, and the spirit soul is a servant of Krishna. And you should work for Krishna. And like that. But and then the next thing is we need to we understand who we are, we understand who God is, our relationship with God, and you understand this material world. That's the other thing, the other knowledge. See, it's all about knowledge. All of our problems come about, and that's mentioned in the Sri Upanishad and other places. All of our problems come from ignorance. How come we don't know what to do? Because we're ignorant. So what are you going to do about the ignorance? You need some knowledge. You need knowledge about who you are, who God is, your relationship. You need knowledge about this material world. What is this material world? What is your relationship with the material world? How do the modes of ignorance work? The mode of passion work? The mode of goodness work? What modes are you in? What mode is your body in? Your mind in? All these different things. So the more knowledge you get, then all these things will slowly fit into place and it'll become very clear. And Krishna will be pleased by your making efforts to serve him, and he'll enlighten you in your heart also the direction you should go and everything like that. But definitely you have to do some occupation. It's not about whether you should do an occupation or not. It's just about what kind of occupation you do. But everyone has to do some occupation. In Vedic culture, do you know how much percentage unemployment there is? In a properly functioning Vedic culture, what's the percentage? Yes, Gail's got it right. 0. Everyone has to do something. Like Prabhupada said many times, he quoted the saying, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. You have to keep engaged in some kind of service. Remember, right, the nature of the soul is service. You have to keep doing some service. Don't stop serving. And that you'll slowly get purified like that. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments or any questions?
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
We're blessed to know you, Abhay. You know that. Thank you for
Likewise. As soon as this COVID restrictions are reduced, you know what I'm going to do?
What's that?
Come over and see you, Bob.
Oh, I'd love that. Good on you.
And give you a big hug.
You're going to do some
Give you a big hug.
Yeah, I'd love that. You're going to do some cooking courses?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
And Gilshan,
Yeah.
what you should have learned out of today's lesson is to improve your cooking. Stop being naughty.
Look, the thing is, I'm Kshatriya. And you giving me a job for something not Kshatriya, it's like you saying that Abhay Prabhu start to learn medicine. No chance.
No, actually, Bob, it's all clear for Gulshan. There's no doubt for Gulshan, because I told him your duty, Gulshan, is to take good care of every single soul that walks in through the door of the Bhakti tree.
That's my duty.
You gotta give them so much TLC, tender loving care, make them feel like they're the most important person on the planet.
Well, I got great service.
That's what I learned.
That's his only duty. I told you're not allowed in the kitchen, Gulshan.
Yes, that's right.
But
then they make halwa and sometimes make a salad. As soon as
the Bhakti tree opens, you have to be the first line of defense.
That's right. I'm there for the last 2.5 years. Every day I'm there. No problem. That's what I learned from Abhay Prabhu. Anyone walks in that door, even if we come 2:30, 3 o'clock, we close, I give a little bit of halwa. Take something. Anyone walk in this door has to have some prasadam. Doesn't matter if we close, doesn't matter. He can come in the evening, take some halwa. Don't go empty-handed.
When I come back, and it'll be a surprise, if I walk through the door and Gulshan's not standing there, you're in for it, Gulshan.
I'm there. I've got nowhere to go. My road ends to Bhakti tree. That's it.
That's where Brett is. Where's Brett?
Yeah, where is Brett?
Brett is dealing with the builder. Something building work happening in the Bhakti tree. He's got a builder appointment at 4 o'clock. Builder was coming and quoting something. So that's why he couldn't able to come to class.
And Katie, it's lovely to see you too.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah, I said it's lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too, Bob.
All right, I'm going to bow out. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
See you soon. Next
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a lovely week. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.